Okay, there we go. So, alright, so we're reviewing Zarya on Hanamura on defense mostly. It'll be both, but the offense there's not a lot to talk about. And silver, gold, pretty much silver. So right away you're kind of keeping an eye on, trying to see what your last guy's going to pick. He does pick McCree, which is fine. Team composition really isn't, it's not that great, it's not that bad, but we don't really care about that. We're playing solo queue, in silver especially. We just want to be able to carry, right? Okay. So already, you kind of hold this area, and you'll see that you don't really leave it a lot. I think. Yeah. So you really want to pick an angle, and you can see there. Oops. Holy crap. That is not going to fly. So you can actually see it brings Mercy out. So she comes out, and look where she ends up. Mercy is going to follow you around, pretty much. I mean, more or less. She's going to be sticking to you and D.Va to heal the tanks, because you guys are going to be taking the blunt of it, and because you are the front line. And you especially are going to want to be able to absorb as much as possible without losing as much as possible. So, and Mercy clearly knows that. She's going to be doing this a lot. But by you being out here in this pit, she's going to be out here in this pit. And there is no cover out here. This rock is not going to, it's just not going to fly. Right? And if we actually take a look, I think this will be a good point to just get this out of the way. So, this is the point that you guys are holding. This is the pit of just dying. This is where you're at right now. You're like right there, right here, and your Mercy's like up here on the rock. I'm not gonna get too into it just because I know Skyline has has a video on it already, and it's super in depth and it's really good. I can leave a link for that. But basically, what you need to know is that this is a bad spot to be in always. Just don't be here ever. At some point, you can basically, you want your team to either defend this side or this side, and your team kind of picks this side as you'll see. They kind of lean towards this, and this is the stronger side. There's high ground here if they get to this, however they get to it. If they go this way, they kind of just get trapped. The offensive team gets trapped, and they just die here, or they fight here, but on the lower ground, they have to cross all of this, and they just get shot at. Like, this is where you want to be. This is pretty awesome. You being out here doesn't really do anything, and when you move up and try to just body block this door, there's just not a good enough reason to. You guys don't have a way to block this out and bring like one person forward. You're going to be like taking the damage from 5 or 6 people and getting healed by Mercy, and they're going to be dealing that damage back to a Reinhardt shield instead of, like, Zarya can't absorb the same kind of damage as a Reinhardt. There's just no way. So that's not going to be good. What you can do instead is hold an angle. You'll do this a little bit. You'll like stick here and you'll like shoot out from there. That's not too bad. If you come in here instead and you hold this with, well, this really, and have like this wall here to protect you, what happens is you can back up to this, and you can come back over if you need to, or you can come back over, or you can go back to this. You have a lot of options. If you're going to hold this side, be in here. No one wants to come in here with a Zarya, because your gun like goes from like here to here with the beam, and then after that, like, that's just where everyone's gonna stand, right? So then you have to use your bombs. But in a room, they don't have that choice. They just have to take the damage and deal damage to your shield, and that's what you want, which is not what they want. So they're not gonna set themselves up for that. So if you sit in here and hold this, you have this kind of like a line of sight. You can see all the way out to this. I'm pretty sure. We'll take a look. You can see out most of this, and if not, you can see this door, which is the only part that really matters because their flanker has to deal with the rest of your team because that's the side that they picked. If they come in this way, then your team is going to be shooting them from behind. You're going to back up and be safe, and continue to kind of absorb and deal damage for your team in that way, and kind of take attention. But this is where your team's dealing all their damage from. That's just kind of what they picked. But by you being out here, you force your Mercy to be out in the open, which is terrible. Your Mercy, I mean, basically, if I was coaching the Mercy, I would tell her to leave you to die, and just save someone else, because if their flanker comes through, they're going to go straight for Mercy. If they are punishing you guys, they're going to go straight for Mercy, kill her. Even if they die, now you don't have any sustain, and you're up here, or you're up here, and you're going to die next, just outright. And they don't even have to. These guys won't even get line of sight of anyone before that happens, and all that and then you're just down a tank and a healer, so that's not good. If you hold an angle, your Mercy can hide back here and heal you. Your Mercy can just not even have to be here because you won't be taking as much damage. And I know you want to take like X amount of damage to get your damage back too, but up until they are breaking this, there's no reason to even be fighting them, because if they're behind this, they're wasting time. If they break forward, they become vulnerable, and that's when you want to be fighting, getting damage back, and that's when they're going to be able to be shooting in and getting damage off. This is like, you want to be fighting them when they're here, and you're either here or somewhere in this area. Okay? So you don't want to be fighting them in the middle of the pit, because you have nothing to hide behind. If Farah comes over, which she will in a bit, you're kind of just a sitting duck, and you pull your Mercy out to be with you, who is also now a sitting duck to Farah. And if that Farah was also any better, no, she's dead. There's no way Mercy's getting out of this. She has this rock to hide behind, and I know you can see that that's not going to cover anything. So you'll do this most of the game, but just don't do this. I know your range kind of sucks on the beam side of Zarya, but just use this room, hold angles. If they're behind this line, it doesn't matter. If they're in front of this line, punish them for it. If they all want to go this way, then regroup with your team and defend up here, because this high ground is kind of what your team backs up to, and it works out really well in a 6v6. So what happens is, if they push you out and they go this way, then you have a 6v6 where your team is here and their team is here. Your team is on high ground and is shooting into this, or is coming in and challenging them up here, and you guys have the advantage. If they come in this way, then they have to fight their way through this, and that they just should lose that. Like, you should be able to come in over here, or more safely you could just regroup with your team, and all the while your team is pushing them off in this tiny little space, and that really sucks. That's just terrifying, honestly, as the pushing team. If they go through here, you should be punishing them for this. This is the pit of death for them too. More for them than it is for you guys, actually. But if they go through here, basically they need to die, and you get a really nice, we'll talk about that when we get there, but just something to keep in mind. So let's go back to the video now. I actually covered a lot of the stuff I wanted to talk about later on because of that. So yeah, so you're being healed, and I just want you to notice like, they're coming in now, and right about here, I think, or maybe it's when you cross back, you see your healer is out in the open somewhere behind you. So if they had a flanker, you would have just gotten her killed, just outright. That, like, either the Mercy doesn't help you and you were in a really bad spot, or Mercy helps you, and she's in a really bad spot too. And all that, and that's not her fault. That's, you need to be off on the side somewhere safer, because you don't need to be on top of the store. Especially, I think that's your diva. Your second tank is out here. I don't know. The entire time the diva is just way too far forward and really needs to be punished for it. But I don't think it happens a lot. So yeah, there's Farah. If she went over, or if she just stood up at the top, she could be shooting in at Mercy instead of you, and that would be a pick. I don't mind you backing up here, but this I do mind. So you actually back up again and go back this way instead of going out the door or up the stairs. If you go up the stairs, she's kind of chasing you on her own, and there's like this much space at least between her and her teammates. But because you go back this way, you end up, you don't get punished for this, but realistically, she should have turned here, and her teammates should have all been right here, and you should have been dead. You backing up this way, you backing up this way puts you with McCree, and it becomes this 1v2 that you're about to have. But if you don't back up from there, then what happens is you have a 2v, possibly 6. Like the other 6 of them can be over here, or the other 5 of them can be over here, and Zarya can be here. And this is the tank, right? So she wants to be taking the damage, which means if her team's coming in, you're going to be focusing on the person you don't want to be focusing on. But that's not what happens, because their team doesn't follow up at all before Zarya gets picked for it. McCree comes in with you, and you guys get her. Where are we at? Okay, so out here you end up like the same thing. You're out in the pit. You're still in the pit. You're you have no real cover except for the door, which if they push through, you don't have any. As far as just gonna get picks here. Is this where? No, it didn't. So that was a really bad instance where Mercy should have been killed for your positioning, because she had no way of being in cover and healing you at the same time. Yes, they get the Farah. So Farah's an issue, right? She's getting damage off. But if you're hiding over here, you know, in the door and shooting out this way, Farah doesn't have an angle on you, and Mercy is all the way around the corner somewhere way back there. So even if Farah's hitting you, she's never hitting the Mercy ever. Not a chance. So so that's, you know, she's an issue, but she's not as big of an issue as she could have. She doesn't have to be as big of an issue as she is. You get really lucky. A lot of the times, the biggest complaints I see about Farah's is just no one on your team handles her, right? If you didn't have someone that was like immediately dealing with that, then you probably would have been just taking hell from that Farah for a lifetime. But luckily your teammate's on it and takes care of it, so that's not an issue. But you can get rid of that just by being in a better position, and not, she would just be outright caught out. Barrier's broken, you don't cross. I like that you don't move forward on this, even though their barrier goes down, your team doesn't go crazy about it. I don't follow her. Diva's crossing this line is out of line, basically. So you don't move forward here. Sorry, I may have to have a weird edit because of that. Okay, anytime that you cross this, you're overextending by a lot. Like, you're already kind of in a weird spot because you don't have any cover, but by crossing that, you are just too far forward. Your diva, she's dead. Just ignore her. She's special. She's very special. She shouldn't be out that far, ever. I think she goes for bomb here in a second, or oh yeah. So as soon as you get that, you throw it out, you keep them off the point, and you waste Lucio's ultimate. Just going back because you didn't have him immediately. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Find cover, pit. That's yeah. So So your team should have been on this a little bit more. I think Diva and you were pretty much the only ones putting in damage. Yes, he ulted, but you can... Basically, they went into the pit, right? They went into the pit. That's bad. They should be dead, all of them. They should just... Your team should be on it. That's kind of your team's fault, but you guys kind of cleaned it up anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. Farah's kind of up there. And then I don't think anything else happens until like 3:50-ish. Okay, so let's see this. Okay, Diva's caught out again. I think you kind of move forward to help her. Don't. She's, yeah, like this whole thing, this like helping take fire up here, just to help her out, and you end up becoming the target, which is kind of weird to say that as a tank, like you shouldn't. But let's see how this could have played out. So Diva's up there, right here. They start focusing her. Let's say that you walk up and you try to help her out, and you get damage off over here, and their team turns on you. If they kill you, your whole team's only other tank is back here. So their team just runs in, and suddenly it's a 4v5-ish, 4v6. Your team has no tanks available to help defend the point, because she's way too far forward, and they just turned on you and killed you. So this is actually really, really bad. This is one of those points where you need to be back holding an angle. You need to be just letting this Diva be dumb, honestly, just outright leave her. But instead you're kind of up here, and I think, yeah. So, and then from here you just end up playing the pit again, which is not great. So that crossing the line there, you know, obviously that's going to be a wipe. But you're playing the pit again, so where's your Mercy? She's in the pit. She has no cover. Reaper's kind of over there. That was really dangerous. Do you see that? So do you see where she's at? That's entirely... This is about the safest she can be, because she has this cover here. And you aren't playing the left side, so it's not like she's staying here-ish or here. She's coming forward and being out in front of all of this. So this is bad again. This is just anytime you're in the pit, you're not in a good spot. And it doesn't really matter if you're the tank or not. You don't need to be over here. You can be holding an angle here. You can be holding an angle on the other side and be in a way better position, and she can be in a way better position, which is what really matters. I think that's McCree. I can't even tell in this res. I'm assuming that's McCree. If he's picking people off as they try to flank or as they come through one by one, fine. Everyone else is holding your right side, which is stronger anyway. So, you know, just mind that. Be over there with your team, and holding somewhere a little bit safer than out in the middle. Do this way out of line. 410. Millionth time playing the 435. Okay, so this is where you're going to get punished for it. You're playing out in the pit. You kind of rotate in to take tank damage for the Diva. Like, I don't know if she has defense matrix. She stops, so you step in. Fine. But then, after that, your shield is down, and you step all the way up here to try to get damage off. And you don't step up behind this. You step up over here in the open. And this is really, really bad. You're going to like get killed for this. I'm pretty sure this is where you die. You're way too far up, and there's just no reason to be. You don't have any way of sustaining, and you're not in a safe spot. So this is just overextending really hard. Diva's overextended again. Same situation as before. If they if they focus on you and Diva's out of position, then you're screwed. And yeah, so there, if you had been off to the left, maybe you could have taken some of that damage from McCree or for whoever else, but you couldn't because you're in the middle here. And I don't know how your Mercy hasn't been just killed over and over. Their team just I'm gonna say their team wasn't focusing it, but you being in the middle of the pit here makes you a target, and you just eat it. So by being in a safer spot, even if it was on this side where you wouldn't even take any of the damage from the Pharah, and Reinhardt, if he had if he had charged, he would have had to charge into the room, which is significantly farther from charging straight to the point. Do you see the difference? Everyone had to respond to Reinhardt, and their team can trickle in from there, or group in hopefully from there, right? But once again, they don't really punish this. You guys kind of just kill them again. You guys kind of beat them by brute force, which is really bad. Well, which isn't great. It won't work at higher levels, basically. She wastes her ult, she puts it on the point like a fool. And then this, I'd argue that you could save your ult just a few seconds longer, try to get more value out of it. I think you try to catch the Reinhardt here. So that way it's all of them, which would have been fine. But you didn't really know that their whole team was going to be right there for sure. So if you just waited a second till they all came in view, you probably could have caught everybody at the door. And with a few seconds later, maybe, you know, Soldier didn't get to the point, or, you know, you might have not had this little skirmish at the end at all. But it was a final. That was kind of a preemptive. They're going to be coming around the corner in a second, hold them there. That wasn't bad. So that's just a little nitty gritty thing. Round 2. I don't think there's anything to like. So I like this part right here. I should actually. So they make a couple callouts here, and they call out the symmetric turrets, and you don't just kind of ignore it and run in, and you guys go into this with a plan, or you go into this with a plan to get rid of the symmetric turrets, and I really like that you think this through, because it's very clearly premeditated, right? You go up here and you're thinking, alright, I come around the corner, I shield myself, I use the damage to deal damage, and there isn't anything there, but that was really a thought out move. That's really good. Okay, and then from here it's just kind of a fuck fest. 8-16, you go through. Yeah, I don't like you guys going through the middle. You went through the pit of death, but they didn't know how to handle it. That's fine. And then you guys kind of hold the high ground, which is good, and that's game. So, alright, just kind of real quick. When you guys push in, an alternative path to just brute forcing it is you guys can go this way if they're defending this side, or if they're scattered. This side's stronger, and you get the high ground. If they're all holding this side, and you can't, if you can't get here, because if you walk through this, you know that they're going to kill you, or you know you're going to lose that fight. You can go this way, and that gives you a ton of options. I'm not going to get too into it. I'll just leave the link to Skyline's video on it if you want to look at that. He talks about positioning on here, and he actually talks a lot about May walls at the end, how to like handling that. So I'll leave that in there if you want to look at it. But otherwise, you guys did pretty good. I liked the play, but you just really gotta take a look at playing angles and stop trying to sit in the middle of the pit here. This was so dangerous, the whole map. If you were against a better team, you would have kept dying, Mercy would have kept dying, and it would have been a 4v6 the entire fight. The Pharah would have killed Mercy, you would have just taken brute damage. D.Va it would have been a 3v6 because D.Va was dead. D.Va is special against a better team. So you don't have to play this pit, ever. You can, this angle that Mercy was kind of doing, it's okay a little bit, but I would just hold inside because you have, like, in your shorter range, you have a lot more power, and you can still get damage off out here. And you can back up, and you can back up, and you can even back up this way if for some reason there's just no one here. But you you don't. You don't do that. Just go this way, or go up and back, and make your way back. So that's all I've really got for you. It was a good game. Thanks for leaving it for me to do this. And let me know if you have any questions or anything.